week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 404. Mr. Somich.
I know you're not feeling well, so I'm not going to be too loud here.
That's fine. I apologize in advance. This is the best, about the best my energy level is right now. But I do want a quick thanks to you and Aaron Halterman. You guys did an amazing job on Monday, recapping an incredible weekend from Traverse Weekend at Saratoga. Lots of Breeders' Cup implications. We're not going to be previewing any races with real Breeders' Cup implications today, but this weekend is looking really loaded, Mike.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we just went over the assignments for these stakes previews that we do for the YouTube page. And I got 5 of them on Sunday and Monday to do. 5 on Sunday and Monday races is absolutely wild. It's closing weekend at Saratoga, second to last week at Del Mar. I got my wrist slapped for saying it was closing week at Del Mar earlier today on Twitter. My bad.
They changed it this year. It's not your fault.
I know. How could I? Well, I'm not following horse racing at all. I'm just over here doing nothing. So you got a lot of stakes this weekend from both of those racetracks. Should be an absolute blast. And we got Kentucky Downs going. We're going to talk about Kentucky Downs today. But before we do it, I want to give you the opportunity since you didn't get it. Would you like to gush about Epicenter for about a minute here?
Oh my gosh, it was incredible. In terms of gushing, I don't know. I feel like I did most of it on Saturday, actually, when he won. But it was just, I've still thought about it. Just such an incredible performance for him. At a mile and a quarter, there's some controversy with the new Breeders' Cup top 10 for the Classic that Aaron has, where some people were upset with who he had, or Epicenter being all the way up to third, despite losing 3 times this year, twice in a grade 1. But the point you got to remember with these videos that we're doing when we do a top 10 for the Classic, I mean, right now, if the Classic was run right now, here's who we like. Do we like Olympiad or Epicenter right now, Mike? That's a pretty easy question to answer. At a mile and a quarter, do we like Jack Christopher? Or do we like Epicenter better? We like Epicenter. Yeah, so it's not too. It's not that we don't dislike those other horses, but just something to keep in mind. But yeah, the Epicenter just so good at that mile and a quarter distance. It sets him up so that he has 0 question marks, I think, heading into the Breeders' Cup Classic. And Asmussen did a great job saying other horses have bigger question marks. Flightline has never gone 2 turns, never gone past 8 furlongs. Country Grammar, he can do a mile and a quarter, but is he fast enough to keep up with Epicenter because he's a little bit more of a grinder type? Olympiad, we've already seen him struggle a bit. We've got a mile and a quarter Jockey Club Gold Cup as well as the Pacific Classic this weekend. So lots more questions to be answered pretty soon, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, Flightline running on Saturday, obviously going to answer a big question there, whether or not he can get that mile and a quarter distance. I think it's important for Epicenter that Flightline does it, which is ironic to say because you want him and Life is Good both in that race if you are Epicenter, because you want your 2 main rivals to bang heads early. So I think it's a big race for Epicenter, ironically, on Saturday to see whether or not Flightline's able to go. I also selfishly want Flightline to go because I would love to see Flightline as a super horse headed into the Breeders' Cup to face another super horse in Life is Good. And then you have Epicenter, you've got Country Graham. Like, it could be a really fun Breeders' Cup if Flightline's able to get the job done here on Saturday.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of the way the Breeders' Cup Classic ramped up last year, where you had a bunch of stars from 3-year-olds. You had Medina Spirit, Essential Quality, Hot Rod Charlie, all looking great. And then they all ran into Nick's Go, the older horse. But it was a great race, and we had a lot of fun breaking that down. We're going to be breaking down Kentucky Downs. That's right. We have a Kentucky Downs preview show. This was Mike Somich's idea. So, Kevin, all of your thanks goes to the guy here to my left. We're doing Kentucky Downs, as Brian says, where you think the race is over. Then we cut to another camera, and you still have, 4 furlongs left, 3 furlongs to go. Before we get into that, Mike, we do have a video here we're going to pull up. If you're a podcast listener, I apologize. But the video watchers, we got to show you what Kentucky Downs looks like from an aerial. So if you're not used to it, this is drone footage. Mike, kind of explain to people what the what Kentucky Downs turf course is like here.
It's odd because it's kind of pear-shaped, I guess is the best way to put it. We're in the backstretch here, and you can see that like the the Santa Anita Park outside turn and then the big sweeping wide turn that you have, like you're going down that Santa Anita turf course. This is the turn for home. You head into the home stretch. You can see this is a really big wide turn. So saving ground here is pretty important. And then you get into this home stretch. And if you look at the home stretch, it actually goes up and down. And so there's like a little uphill portion that you run downhill into this back stretch. Then you go uphill around the final turn, uphill into the final stretch. What happens is that if you're going 6.5 furlongs, it's more like 7. If you're going 1 mile and 70 yards, it's more like 1 mile and a 16th. So each of these distances that you see, you want to have horses that can get a little bit more ground. And, we talk a lot about horse for course, specifically at Saratoga. There's very much a horse for course here at Kentucky Downs. You see horses that consistently win it time after time. It's going to be interesting here this year. You've got monster purses. That's the other real gimmick from a Kentucky Downs perspective. You're looking at $150,000 maiden purses. I'm interested to see if anyone tries to debut big-time horses here because it's the largest maiden special weight purses in America. You have $300,000 and $400,000 non-graded stakes here because some of them are restricted, like the Tapit, which is one of the horse races that we'll look at. $400,000 restricted for horses that have not won a sweepstakes in 2022. So you have these monster purses, and that means you get monster fields and you get some really wild horses sometimes. So we were talking before the show. Don't break your bank at Kentucky Downs. Take a swing at Kentucky Downs because you do have these big time fields. And if you can string together a couple non-favorites, and that generally happens at Kentucky Downs, you can get some big time payouts from pick 4 and pick 5 sequences.
Well, every single race also has at least 12 horses entered. You got 14, 15, 16 in some of them. 12 is the most that they'll run. But I love watching this. This is sped up very greatly, but I love watching this footage too. By the way, this is from February 2019. If it looks dead, the grass there, that's why. It's not. Kentucky Downs actually looks really beautiful right now. So with that said, Mike, let's get into it. We got Kentucky Downs Thursday, late pick 4. Riders up. Brian in the chat asked, how long is the track? I looked it up. It is 10.5 furlongs. It is 1 mile and 550 yards from start to finish. It is a very long track, but it's great. Also, you can drive right up and just park right on the far turn there and watch and tailgate. It's a lot of fun. Nick says he's planning on attacking the trifecta super fields at Kentucky Downs. Mike, let's attack this late pick 4, starting with race 7 on Thursday, September 1st. It's a mile-long allowance for 12 runners, non-winners of one other than since last September, so a slight condition there. Where'd you go on top?
I went with the 8 Cupid's Claws on top here. 8-1 out of the Mark Casse barn. This is a horse that, look, I think really will like this track and this distance quite a bit. You saw him going much longer mid last year, so we got a mile race here, but has run 1 1/8, 1.5 miles, 1.25 miles races and done well in those. You saw last time out, the horse didn't get a very good trip in an overnight stakes race, $99,000 purse. It was first time out of the Mark Casse barn here. Now we're going to be second out of the barn, second out in the 7-year-old season, second off the layoff. So you kind of feel like that horse needed that race. And now we're getting into a distance that I think this horse is really going to like. I love the 8-1 price. And I think the setup is right too. There is quite a bit of speed in here. So I think it's going to be tough for anyone to try and take this field gate to wire. And that's going to set it up for a horse like Cupid's Claws, so I think it's going to be coming from off the pace.
My second choice in here was second to Tiz the Magician in the Cougar 2 last year at Del Mar. Tiz the Magician, by the way, in the Grade 2 Del Mar handicap on turf this weekend with Mike Smith aboard. So, yay. My top pick here, I'm going to go to the rail. Therapist, 7-2, classiest horse in the field. Arguably the best trainer-jockey combo for this race and setup at Kentucky Downs. Remember, Tyler Gaffleon last year having a great time at Kentucky Downs until Joel Rosario showed up and was winning 4 a day. But Tyler Gaffleon was second in wins and purse money at last year's meet. This horse is a strong late kick, loves the mile distance. I know this is going to be longer than a mile because of Kentucky Downs, but 4 for 9 at the distance. I think he's there. Did you use Therapist, or was the 7-2 price too short?
Well, I think 7-2 is a pipe dream, to be honest. I think you're going to end up at somewhere around 2-1, but I did use Therapist. I think this is probably your best horse in the field. But I mean, this horse hasn't won since 2020. That's a problem. Like that's my biggest issue with Therapist here. But you can't really, in my mind, when I'm going 4 deep here, I'm going to go 2 deep in a couple of legs. I'm not going to leave Therapist off in this spot because I do think he deserves to be on the ticket and is a deserving favorite. He just hasn't won very much. Now, this is also a big time drop in class, as you said. I mean, he has not run in anything but a stakes race since June 6, 2021. And that was an open $100,000 optional allowance at Belmont, where Value Proposition and Analyze it beat him. So good horses in there. Everything else has been stakes since. The one makes a ton of sense. The setup should be pretty good for therapists as well. Should be able to sit mid-pack and make a run into some speed that I think is going to sit there for him. I used Max KO, the 6-horse here as well. This is one where, again, he hasn't won that much in 2022, but everything that he has faced in 2022, I believe, has been pretty solid. The one race that you could kind of say, hey, why didn't he win it, would be the $25,000 starter allowance race. Everything else has been stakes. I like the setup for Max KO, and that's the main reason why I'm going to be using him here. He is going to sit the perfect trip, sitting right behind the speed, and has shown the ability to win from there. He was 3 for 8 in 2021, so I don't mind the 0 for 6 in 2022 as much, because the horse does like to win. And I want the horse who I think is going to get first run. I think that's Max KO. I'm not sure if he holds on, but I think he gets first run and gets the lead mid-stretch by the second stretch camera.
Yeah, there you go. I went back and forth to this horse. I ended up leaving him off, but I mean, you could definitely use him. Safi Joseph has won one race at this meet the last 2 years. Remember, they only, I think, 7 days total they meet. So, for him to get a win each of the last 2 years, it's impressive. There was an article about how he's bringing a ton of horses in for the Ramses, because if you don't know the Ramses, they're good in Kentucky, but the Ramses also owe everybody a ton of money. Kentucky Downs, go where all the purses are big. You can win some races. You can pay off some of those bills. Not a Ramsey horse here. I didn't use because I didn't know what what was the winning trip going to be for this horse. I was trying to figure it out in this field. I couldn't get there like you did, but was on the fringe for me. I just went 3 deep. The last one I'm going to use, and it's a total shot in the dark. You can laugh at me. That's perfectly fine. I'm using the 10 long range toddy here for Dallas Stewart, Julien Leparoux. This horse, we know, because Size has been riding him. This horse on dirt loves to go early. Doesn't usually hold on. But on turf, when we see these horses make this change, they can actually handle it a little bit. You have a jockey in Julien Leparoux, who is very good always at Kentucky Downs, 3rd in wins in purse money, won last year at this meet. But you also have breeding here with, being by Take Charge Indy that says 13%, going a mile on the turf should be fine for this horse. Again, taking a big flyer because it's Julien Leparoux and he likes to take horses on the lead and kind of walk the dog. If a horse goes gate to wire, I think this is the one that does it, because he's coming out of all those sprint races. But it also is going to be extremely hard for anybody to wire this field.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where the 9, the 10, the 11, and the 12, I thought all made a little bit of sense. The 10, the 9, and the 10 should both go with each other. And I'm afraid that next the 4 and the 5, Lamplighter Jack, also go. And all of a sudden you got 4 horses setting the pace. And that made me throw all 4 of them out. If you said you were going crazy and playing the 10, 11, or 12, I wouldn't have mocked you, because I think all 3 of those have an outside chance at winning if you really want to play a big price. Long Range Toddy, Endorsed, and Spa City. All of them don't really have any proven turf record, but all of them have numbers that fit on the dirt, and their breeding is good enough for turf. So if you really wanted to make a case for it, you could. I ended up playing a bomb here that you could really say is very similar. I went with a 3 Sprawl instead of those, simply because I think this horse possesses a little bit more of late kick than any of those. And so I want the horse that I think is going to be coming from off the pace with the pace set up here. Sprawl sitting on the board at 15-1 for Tom Drury. Solid trainer. He's 19% overall. He's 29% going dirt to turf. And notice he tried to get this horse on turf. That, to me, is a key there. Ended up only in a 4-horse field, ran 3rd, but that was on the dirt. Faced Folsom and Twilight Blue, came back, faced Necker Island. He was in a bunch of graded stakes last year. Look, they're trying to find how this horse fits, and he's kind of bred pretty well for the turf, too, with a City Zip on the top out of an awesome, again, mare. So the turf breeding is there. It's a drop in class in a lot of ways from what he was racing against on the dirt the vast majority of his career. It's a little bit of a swing, but I think it's the horse that has the most class that's going to close versus the horses that I think are going to be a little more forwardly placed here.
A very smart trainer in Tommy Drury Jr., too. Very good at spotting his horses. He's 19% on the year. He's 29% dirt to turf. You can see the lines at the bottom, all very solid with his spots. I looked at Sprawl. I couldn't get there because I think that this horse, maybe a year ago, this would have been a good time to try it. This year, he just has looked pretty lackluster. But I get why we're taking a shot on dirt. We're not facing Olympiad or Folsom or even Necker Island. So he's got that going for him. Just trying to do something new. I couldn't do it. Did you look at the 7 to credit? Did you use him at all?
No, I didn't use him. And this one, to me, I couldn't for a couple reasons. The layoff is one of the main ones. First off, we have not seen this horse since he won last time here at Kentucky Downs, but that was also going a mile and 5/16, so significantly longer, and walked the dog up front and did it at 37-1. I mean, when you combine all of that, it's just really hard for me to use that horse. And then on top of it, you have a trainer that is 1 for 28 in 2022. I would need more than 10-1, and I don't think I'm going to get more than 15-1. If you tell me he's 40-1 on race day, maybe I put him on a 50-cent ticket, but like I would need a monster number here because everything would have to go right. And the idea of him wiring this field is not going to happen. I guarantee you that. So he needs to win from off the pace, which he's not really ever shown the propensity to do. So I'm not sure where the race comes from. Now, I like 4-year-olds later in the season. This is going to be the first start in the 4-year-old season. I guess you could see a step forward here. It feels like a really tall task.
It does. If he'd had one race even just to see him come back, just to knock the rust off, because it's not a trainer that you or I know well. Really, many people know well. So it's kind of hard to use him. Sprawl, by the way, if he wins, congratulations. Michael's going to buy you a bottle of Casamigos if he wins. So you've got.
I love this.
Michael, not a fan of Joe Talamo, the jockey aboard the 3 Sprawl. I want to bring this up too. Nick Feldman, the great stat in the chat. Last year at Kentucky Downs, 22 races run at 1 mile. The horses with the E or EP Brisnet type won at 14 and 23%. P and S type horses, so the pressing or the stalking horses, they won at 27 and 36%. So you don't want a horse necessarily on the lead, but a horse is going to be pretty close going a mile is what that sounds like.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm guessing a lot of the winners, I don't know this for sure, but if a lot of the winners were cutting back from mile and 16th, that makes a ton of sense, right? Where you're going to have a lot of those horses that were stalking at mile and 16th be able to take this one turn mile and be able to be really effective. I don't really want sprinters stretching out here, because if you have sprinters stretching out and then they're going a little bit longer, it makes it awfully tough for them to be able to go gate to wire.
Let's move on to the second leg of Thursday's late pick 4 at Kentucky Downs, September 1st. Race 8 is a 6.5 furlong sprint for 12 fillies and mares 3 and up, plus the also eligibles. N1X allowance runners for this field. Where'd you go on top, buddy?
Oh, this one was tough. I'm only going to go 2 deep here. It's going to be one of my shorter legs. I'm going to put the 6-horse Hey Kitten on top. We talked horse for course. This one was successful at Kentucky Downs last year at this distance. Improved a little bit after that race, but that is really where the career best race, I would say, going before this 5-year-old season came from. Now we're third off a layoff in the 5-year-old season. I think this is a little bit weaker of a spot than what we faced last time. And I like the fact that we're getting a little bit more distance, which I think this horse should like. Rudolph Brissett, I love it when he places horses like this. So I'll take that 20% trainer at a big number here, or decent number, 5-1 in the morning line. Don't love Corey Landeros, or don't love Chris Landeros, but I'll
either
deal
one
with
of
that.
them.
No, well, Corey Lannery, not great either. But I just combined them to make the. Oh, never mind, I'm not even going to say it. Anyway, I'm going to go with Hey Kitten on top here, the 6. I think Brissett's keying this horse specifically up for this spot, and he likes the track. Again, the pace should set up for him. I think the 6.5 is what he wants.
Listen, all good points. I didn't use, but I thought this horse to me was not as good as the horses that I used, but making your ticket makes perfect sense. 5-1 is a good price to take. I went with the 8 Shannon on top at 3-1. I went a little chalky in this leg. Listen, this horse, it's a Brad Cox filly. She's only a half length away from being undefeated in 2 turf sprints, both times 5.5 furlongs. And she was tactical in those sprints where she wasn't on the lead. She was a couple lengths off, was able to accelerate. The first time she did it at 24-1 at Keeneland. The second time at Ellis Park, maybe it was the yielding turf that kind of did her in a little bit. She wasn't able to gain the ground like she was able to show at Keeneland, but she's tactical. And Florent Drew is routinely a top 5 jockey here. Now, I will say, having seen Florent Drew ride at Del Mar, I don't know who that guy is that's pretending to be Florent Drew. That is not Florent Drew. So hopefully he refines his form here back with Brad Cox, because I know you've seen it too. His Del Mar rides have been bad this year.
His Kentucky rides weren't great before it. We'll just put it that way. I was never a big Kentucky circuit follower until this last year when I really watched Keeneland closely, watched some more Churchill races because I wanted to watch those more often. There's some rides. We'll just put it that way. There's some questionable. He's bell curve without the good side of the bell curve. So it's either middle or just falls off the edge. I'm going to use the 8 as my other horse in here too. Even with Florent up, Shannon looked great in that race that I think Nick and I were actually there for when we got to see Shannon go just win. I think it's 26-1 to close out a Keeneland tournament. I think these are the best two horses in the field. They're coming out of the same race. Ellis Park last time was eerily dominant last year going into Kentucky Downs. So a lot of winners came from Ellis Park into Kentucky for some reason. Not sure if it was the cut in the grass or what it was, but you saw a lot of Ellis to Kentucky Downs winners. And I just don't think this field is very good. I mean, that's the other thing. When I went through this, I'm like, I'm not all that impressed with any of them. You know, I thought about using the 10. I thought about using the 9. I didn't really like either of them that much. So I'm going to try and get here, just going too deep and go 6-8.
The 9 was my second choice. 4-1. Not loving the short prices here, but prior experience over the course, even though didn't get the win. It tells me that Brian Lynch liked her chances to win here before, and he's a trainer who does well. Last year had 7 starters, 3 wins, and 2/3. So he knows what kind of horses run well at Kentucky Downs. I don't like that she's returning at one turn at a short price versus winners. You know, some angles I was trying to use your 6 horse to try and fit her in instead of the 9, but ultimately, I went with the 9 just because I think that Brian Lynch and with Adam Beskiza, I think the 2 of them are going to be able to be a good combination for this horse. Again, if you don't want to use it, the other one I used, I did go for a price for my third one. The number 2, 261 at 15-1. This horse actually won 3 straight sprints on the synthetic 2 winners ago, always coming from off the pace. If she's going to win this race, I think that's what she needs to be able to do. This trying to go to the lead and holding on stuff, it wasn't working, but I like that she was showing the speed while routing. So now we're cutting back. She won't be too far out of it. When you have these sprinters in here that are, going to be stretching out, like say the 8, she will be able to keep up with them a little bit. Vincent Cheminade, the jockey, I don't know if you know much about him, Mike. It's one of the top, looked him up because I really didn't know who he was. One of the top younger riders in France, came to America this year, said he wanted to model himself after Flavien Prat, Julien Leparoux. Then he said Florent Giroux, and I realized this was an interview from 7 months ago, so it made a little bit more sense. But sorry, Flo. There's a lot of Flo hate. I don't, nothing personal.
It's a rough first 10 minutes for Flo.
Listen, Barry King brought this horse to Kentucky Downs at an N1X allowance level last year, and she set the pace. She got 4th. Amalfi Princess was a runaway winner, won by almost 4 lengths that day, so she was only a length and a half off of second after setting the pace. So again, if we can do that come from behind style now that we're sprinting again, you got Cheminade, who is a, by the way, 18% in his first year in America. That's pretty damn good. Considering he's not a bug jockey, that's really damn good. European jockeys do well on Kentucky Downs course. So I'm going to take a flyer, 15-1. I'm going to get every bit of that price, I'm sure. But as far as a long shot, this is the one that stuck out to me, Mike.
I don't hate it. I didn't like it when I looked through this without you talking about it. Now that you've talked about it, I don't hate the idea of the 2 here. I thought the 10 was the long shot. Wesley Ward, you get Corrales up, second off a layoff. But I don't like playing 3-year-olds that much, especially when they're facing some older horses here. So that was one of the reasons I did not use the 10 in this spot. Especially like at Kentucky Downs, it's just tough to be a 3-year-old facing over. It's tough anywhere, but specifically Kentucky Downs, I think it's one of those tracks that I'm not that interested in playing 3-year-olds in these 3-year-olds and up races. I thought this race was just not that good. I mean, so if you want to take a swing at a price, I get it. It's someone like the 2 who you can point to a race and say, all right, now we need to learn how to do this a little bit better. The trainer and jockey that are clicking pretty good. So I don't hate your 2 play.
Nick Feldman, big fan. Actually, the 10, the Ward horse you talked about, is his top pick in this race. So neither of us use, but this is Kentucky Downs. I mean, shrewd handicappers can all have different opinions because there's, 18 different horses in a single race, but it's a lot of fun. Let's move on. The penultimate leg, Mike, of the late pick 4 Thursday at Kentucky Downs on September 1st. This is the 1.70-yard Tapit Stakes for 12 males, 3 and up. Feature race. I know where you went on top because the preview for this is available now at racingdudes.com and youtube.com/racingdudes. But assume I don't know who you're picking on top, Mike. Where are you going?
Well, I did spread like crazy in this race, so at least we get to talk about quite a few horses. I'm going to go ahead, and you mentioned this ownership group a little bit earlier. I'm going to go ahead and put the 1 Ramsey Solution on top here, 8-1, breaking from the gate. Aggressive spot to put this horse back in. Let me tell you, we have not seen this horse since June of 2021. So over a full year off here. But Ramsey Solution, we talk about this a lot, was named after the Ramseys when they were not keeping a lot of horses. They decided to keep this homebred. And so far, that's paid off pretty well. $471,000 in his career. You know where the mass majority of that money came from? Winning this race in 2020. When he collected a $176,000 check for winning this $300,000 version of the restricted Tapit. It's $400,000 now. We know that Ramsey Solution likes this track. Ramsey Solution's also fired well off the layoff multiple times. So we've got a win back on May 25th, 2020, as well as a win on June 18th, 2022 off over a year layoff. So I'm not worried about the layoff here with Ramsey Solution because he has fired well for both the Wesley Ward barn and the Saffie Joseph barn off the layoff. Love the 8-1 price. We know he likes the track. Hopefully everything's good to go here, and Ramsey Solution can be forwardly placed and be able to get home in the lane.
I went 3 deep. This was my second choice. You nailed all the great points. Who's your second horse in the spot?
I went with a 12 horse In Love. I mentioned at the top of the show here, this is a restricted stakes. That's why it's not graded at this point. It's restricted to anyone who has not won a sweepstakes in 2022. In Love fits that perfectly here because this is a horse that has been facing significantly better. 4 graded stakes since the restricted stakes in 2021. So 4 grade ones the last 4 races, including a win in the Keeneland Turf Mile. That was pretty good. It was in the Manhattan last time, the Maker's Mark Mile the time before that. This is just a massive drop in class here. Now, I don't love that this is where we show up, but the fact that it's a $400,000 purse makes me not as afraid as if it was like $125K, right? Because they were trying to find big time spots for this horse, and In Love has delivered big time performances in the past. Because of the purse size, I think is why you see In Love here, and it's a good job taking advantage of this type of purse. And again, 1-for-1 over the track, won a $330K restricted stakes race, the TVG last year here. So I'm going to go with In Love as my other must use.
I went against him. I'm going to hope that being stuck way out there at that price with his form. Yeah, he's been facing grade 1 company, but I didn't like the way that he ran in those. It seemed like he just kind of would fall off the pace both of those starts earlier this year. So I'm going to, just like last year, I'm going to make him prove it to me. By the way, if you remember last year, the TVG stakes was so popular, they did 2 of them. I don't know if you remember that, but they split it into divisions. He won 1 of them, but a talented horse, just can't use him here. I went 3 deep. I just realized that you and you used all 3 of mine, so we can go to the next one. Did you talk about the 9 Law Professor yet?
Nope, not yet. You can go for it because I got 2 more after.
Let's do Law Professor next. Rob Atras is 23%, first time with an experienced horse coming in. But really it stands out to me is his turf efforts. If you take out all the dirt, Mike, his turf efforts, very nice. Each one of them improving. Gets a decent third going a mile and an 1/8. You know, he's a son of Constitution out of a Ghost Zapper mare, so distance is going to be good for him. Decent third there. Cuts back to a mile at Del Mar. Gets a win with Jose Ortiz aboard in an optional claimer. They bring him back in the grade 1 Kilroe Mile on turf. A race that was 22-2, 45-2, way too freaking fast. It was like lightning fast turf course that day. He didn't really have much of a chance. He's not a horse that likes to be very close. Didn't get a great ride from Abel Cedillo. I still think that this horse stretching out, going longer on turf, a slower race pattern, which seems like it's going to be here, should suit him well. So I'm going to use that's why I like the 9. What about you?
Yeah, I think you'd hit the nail on the head. Look, this is a very well-spotted horse in my mind, where again, it's that lack of winning his sweepstakes means that Law Professor's eligible for this. The 3 turf efforts, phenomenal. That Kilroy Mile, like you said, this horse was too close to that pace and just couldn't quite come home. But it's not like he quit off it either. Only was beaten 4 3/4 that day. Atras, you mentioned 23% first off the claim. I like the fact to get Leparoux up, and this horse really should love the turf. Constitution out of Ghost Zapper is pretty darn good breeding. So I would expect that you're going to hopefully see that just the same effort as the Kilroy Mile makes Law Professor dangerous here at 10-1.
Next one for me, the 5 Atone. This was actually my top pick. Mike Maker's the winningest trainer in Kentucky Downs history. This horse rallied from way too far back last time out to miss by just a head. He missed by a nose to Floriform, but I watched that replay a few times, partly because I had to edit the preview. But I thought that he was the better horse in that race. And now Tyler Gaffleone's going to be hopping back aboard. This horse was 4th beaten a length in the Maker's Mark Mile at Keeneland. He's had so many strong efforts, whereas I can point it In Loves and go, he was facing grade 1 company, but it wasn't really, I wasn't seeing it visually from him the way I was seeing it from Atone. I did not use Floriform. I felt like I had to pick between the 2 of them. I thought Atone was not only the better horse in that race, but better suited for this spot. Did you kind of do the same thing I did, split them?
I used them both. Okay. I think Atone fits the conditions perfectly. And I think Floriform is an improving 4-year-old. So I think that Floriform has the ability to get better every single race right now. And you've seen that the last 3 races, just from a buyer perspective. You know, debuts with a 90, comes back with a 91, runs 93, runs a 95. Not loving to win is a little bit of a concern here, as we've hit the board 3 straight times, but we have improved every race as well. So I like this spot for Floriform. I think it makes sense. And I think that you're going to see Atone get bet down from 4-1. I think Floriform might float up to 6 or 7-1. I like that price on Floriform, which I think I'm going to get on race day because, look, Atone and In Love are taking money here, right? We can agree on that. They're going to be your two favorites. I think they're going to get bet pretty good in this spot. In Love specifically, I think will be bet pretty good in this spot. But that last race from Matone looks great on paper, especially when you meld it with the rest of his races, specifically the Forbidden Apple 2-back where he runs second to City Man. I don't see how Matone doesn't get bet down. I think Floriform floats up, and I think you're kicking yourself if Floriform is able to beat him at the wire and he's off the ticket at a bigger price.
I'll add him on. If you think that the odds are going to shift a little bit, I was thinking they would shift the other direction. So if you think it'll help him that way, I'll add him on. I mean, either way, I'm not using In Love. So using the second and third choices here. Not ish. So yeah, so I'm going to go 1, 5, 6, 9. Do you have one more left we didn't talk about?
I do. No, I'm going 1, 5, 6, 9, 12.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Yeah. It's this was I thought the most confident maybe because they're stakes horses. Maybe that's why I was able to look at this. I actually kind of understand what's going on. I love this. Car Ramrod says lots of swears when I saw In Love here. Have to bet and get burned again.
Yeah, if I play press tickets, I'll leave In Love off. I will probably single the one if I try and play a $5 press ticket here. And if I'm playing pick threes, I probably single the one or maybe go 1-5. Just because I want to beat In Love if I'm going anything shorter than in a pick 4. Like if this wasn't a spread leg for me, I wouldn't be using the 12 either.
Speaking of spreading or going short, I went too deep in the final leg here. The late pick 4, the last leg, race 10 is a mile maiden special weight for a dozen males, 3 and up. Where'd you go on top to close it out?
I think we're going to talk about the 3 first. I bet we both have that as a top pick.
Yep.
Growth Capital comes in for Chad Brown, and would be, again, if I'm pressing, I'm singling Growth Capital here. Comes in for Chad Brown, and if you go back and you watch that last race, it says steadied 7/8, bumped 9 and 9/16. It was a bad steady, and the horse wanted to show. It was like almost went down type of steady, and the horse veers out 4 or 5 wide around the first turn. Like the trip notes do not do this horse justice, and he probably still could have run a little bit better than it did, but there's a reason the horse kind of bowed out later. You should get a significantly better trip here in this spot. Should be able to make or be very close to the lead. And I think it's very interesting that they decided to bring him back here for a big purse instead of running back at Saratoga. So I think Growth Capital's all systems go here. I think the 3 is going to be tough.
I was just watching the replay back again. That was, boy, even into the first turn, that's just such a Growth Capital just did not have a good day. Yeah. Not a good day for Growth Capital. And until that point, I mean, yes, it was a money burner. A horse has been favored in odds on the last 2 races. 3-5 and 1-2. So burning a lot of money, but it is Irad riding. It's a Kalleward horse. They haven't gelded it, so they think this horse has got a lot of potential still. Chad, by the way, 3 wins and 5 runners in the money from 8 starters at Kentucky Downs in total. That includes multiple graded stakes winner Fluffy Socks broke her maiden here in 2020. So Chad Brown, Kentucky Downs, not something you normally think about, but he does like to use it for good horses. So we're going to agree with the 3 Growth Capital for sure.
Yeah, and it's going back. At least he lost to good horses. Like Fort Ticonderoga, a very good horse. Like at least he was burning money against good horses and not burning money against bad horses, right? Because that to me is when you're losing to 20-1 shots that never win again. That's a problem. When you're getting beat by horses that are actually good, that I'm willing to forgive a little bit more. The 11 and the 12, Blue Devil and Levity were 2 that I just went back and forth on. And Chris is mentioning Blue Devil out down here. Getting rid of Corey Lannery. I have multiple people I know that consider Corey Lannery off a good angle. So I'm not shocked that that's the feeling there. I went with Levity instead, and I'm only going 2 deep here. I'm going 3-12. I like the fact that we're getting second time turf here. And the trip, in my mind, from Levity's perspective, was worse than the trip from Blue Devil's perspective. I think Levity should be able to improve second time turf, like I mentioned. I like the fact that we get Bejarano to ride this horse back. I like the price is a little bit bigger. I think the price is going to be a little bit bigger on race day as well. I'm hoping second time turf is really the key here for Levity to take a step forward. So I ended up just going 3-12, playing who is going to be the favorite, the 3 Growth Capital, and taking a little bit of a shot with the 12.
I didn't use either one of them because I didn't like either one of them that much. I didn't like one of them to want to use and have to bring in the other. I think of the 2 that I like the 12 Levity a little bit better. I thought, that race at Alice where they were, second and 4th, I thought Blue Devil really should have won that race. And so for him to not get the job done there, I don't know. I thought that was his to win and he gave it up. Whereas with Levity, you got Bejarano and Vicky Oliver. They're usually, I know they're only 12%, but they sneak up and win races like this quite often. So wouldn't be surprised to see that horse, especially 8-1 versus 5-1. I think I'm going to lean with Levity a little bit there.
Yeah, and that's why I went there. I the second time doing on turf, I think is a logical improvement angle, and that's what I'm hoping for. I didn't like that race from Blue Devil. I thought I agree with you. I thought he should get the job done. But before we jump into your horse, I want to make sure I mention one other horse here. I mentioned how I like older horses against 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
There are 2 older horses in this race. The next horse on for me would actually be the 8. The 5 is a career maiden, 0 for 15. The 8 horse is your only 4-year-old in this field. And it's coming out of the Mike Maker barn. And I like, that is the horse that scares me in this field. If I was going to go 3 deep, or if you don't want to use my 12 and you want to use the 8 instead, I wouldn't hate that either. Coming out of a race where the winner came back and won, that was over dirt. It's going to be dirt. First time turf here for this horse. I went back and forth between the 8 and 12 for a long time.
Yeah, same. I didn't use, obviously, but Bodemeister, not a bad turf route sire. It's, I think, 12%, even though he didn't run on turf. I'm not going to use, but I'm with you. This horse scares me because Maker's never had it. It's one thing when Maker has a horse. He had one in, I think, the stakes race last leg, where he'd had the horse, put it in a stakes race on dirt, and then comes to Kentucky Downs. I'm like, no. If I wanted to play that horse, Maker gets him and goes immediately Kentucky Downs or on to turf with him. That's what I would want to see. Here you're getting that with this horse. This horse, one time, Tampa Bay Downs finishes a good second. Bet well, 5-2 for the debut. And then Maker gets him and goes straight to Kentucky Downs. So that seems like a tip off there of something. We didn't use. Why? I guess why didn't you use? We both like him.
Price. I didn't want to go. I think growth capital is much the best here, and so I'm not going to go 3 deep in a leg where I think the favorite's the best unless I'm getting what I believe will be a decent price. And I think that I'm getting a decent price on the 12. I don't think I'm going to get that on the 8. I think the 8's going to be second choice in this spot. So if I'm going to play 2 horses and I'm playing the favorite, I generally am going to want to play a bigger number with it.
Last one for me. I went too deep like you as well. I went with the 4, Heir to Greatness here. And then I was looking at I saw that the DRS Marcus Hirsch had this as his top pick too. Horse, he had his turf debut in his second career start. Alstall Jr. horses almost always don't bet him that first start. This horse was pretty much ignored and runs him into condition a little bit. Puts him on turf at Ellis Park once he's able to get to turf. Bet down to second choice in that race, was almost the favorite. The penny breakage in Kentucky now makes it interesting, but was almost the favorite in the race. Holy trip trouble. This horse got shoveled way back at one point and then still actually came on and finished. It looked like the horse was going to be, 8th, 9th in this race. It was fading and then finally found some room and came running. I think the horse is definitely built for the distance. There's some turf pedigree and on the dam side that you've got Lemon Drop Kid who won the Belmont Stakes. So, the mile should be no problem for this horse as well. I think the early speed that we saw on the turf last time out, I think we're getting Julien Leparoux aboard. I think that's a big angle as well. I think this horse is sneaky and I'm getting a really nice 12-1 price on him.
Yeah, I don't hate the price. Second turf, and both of those races really, it wasn't exactly a wonderful trip. So it's not like you have any race you can point to and say, hey, he was clear. This is he got the run the whole time. So I don't hate the use of the 4 here, especially at that 12-1 price.
He the winner last time out also repeated in an Ellis turf route with an 81 buyer, so that was good to see as well. And we hit all of yours. There was one I wanted to talk about. Nick Feldman brings up, I'm on a Saffy kick. Yeah, you are today, buddy. He's going with the 7 X-Thelm, 3-year-old horse we haven't seen since he ran a pretty even sprint, and now he stretches out to a mile. What did you think about the 7?
Interesting horse. Bred to be able to handle the distance, should like the turf, ran well at that first race. You wonder if he was fully cranked, if that was almost a prep for this spot. I mean, I don't hate using the 7 year. I don't love using Saffy outside of California or outside of Florida. And that's one of my knocks on this type of horse, especially in one of these fields. Would have to take a pretty big step forward. But again, like 8-1, you're going to get every bit of that race day. I don't dislike it. If this horse gets bet down to like 3 or 4-1, then watch out. This horse is going to run. Like, the word's out on this horse. And that often happens with some Saffys.
Yeah, and you could easily see a huge buyer improvement from that 61 on debut into his second start. The winner of the race that day went gate to wire, had a multiple length lead early on, so going 5 furlongs. Even on the synthetic at Gulfstream, you're not going to catch that.
No, you're not. Oh, man, is Bapio going to get it done? And was it? Oh, Bapio just. Oh,
Bapio got it?
Yes. Bapio
got it.
23-1 in the with anticipation.
Papa Cap's baby brother.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So what we're finding out is Papa Cap should have been a turf horse all along.
I guess so. Battle of Normandy got a troubled trip second, I would say.
Ooh.
Carmouche tried to split and didn't get the split as soon as he wanted. Tried to go outside. Pratt's horse, the 2, kind of faded outside. So then the 1 had to split the 10 and the 2, and the 2 was kind of in a little bit of a weavy mode. And that was probably the difference. The horse seemed a little shy to get through that hole, and then Bobbio was able to hold on and wire the field.
Nick says he was alive to the 2 for $7.75. That hurts.
Yeah, that's not fun. Man, I had that 10 too. I'm not alive anymore. That's frustrating.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I for the little impromptu with anticipation recap, as well as Kentucky Downs late pick 4. We're going to put our tickets down below, but if you are watching or the replay, I'll go ahead and read them out one last time. 1-8-10 for me with 2-8-9 with 1-5-6-9 with 3-4. Still $36 for my ticket, Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket here. I'm going 1-3-6-8 with 6-8 with 1-5-6-9-12 with 3-12 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $40.
And you notice Mike and I, we did a pick 4, because Kentucky Downs is very hard to handicap, and we decided to do that this morning, and we didn't have time to do pick 5. But also, it gets very expensive if you want to train it. You notice our tickets are a little smaller. It's partly because we have confidence in our picks, but honestly, like Kentucky Downs is a crazy meet. One hit will carry you through the entire meet and maybe the next meet as well. So don't go crazy. Don't spend $500 pick 4s all over the place. Be a little smarter and just take some shots and see what connects there, Mike.
Yeah, it's a great track to take some chances, but it's not a great track to just throw a ton of money. And by the way, Bobbio, Bolt Oro.
That's true.
Doing very, very well from a Sires perspective. That was first time on turf too. Bolt to Oro so far 20% first time out on turf. I'm sorry. Now they're now 3 for 11. No, that's wrong. They're like 18%, 17%, something like that. First
they're
time
really
out
good.
Turf. Yeah, so it's been pretty good so far for Bolt to Oros going out on turf, and they've been 20% overall. So pretty good in general for Bolt to Oros first class here. Man, those 2-year-old races, they can get funny. I like Determinedly quite a bit. Determinedly did not run that well, but because Determinedly was in the race and Bobbio stayed in was one of the main reasons I ended up using the 10 there.
Well, good for you on that one. So I know some people in the chat didn't have it, so if you had the 10, good. Well, I know, Mike, you were knocked out anyways. Bree, good to see you in the chat. Bree wants to know, we had to reschedule it from last week because of Travers. We didn't get to do the tournament. We're doing it this weekend.
We are? I haven't heard from Aaron or Jared on this yet.
We had postponed it to this weekend, I thought. So
I thought so too, but I haven't heard from Aaron or Jared on it yet.
It is going to be Labor Day weekend. If we don't get to it, it's going to be because of that. I promise. We're not trying to skip the Friday tournaments. We love them. It's just sometimes at this time of year, we're a little busy.
Yell at Aaron and Jared on Blinkers Off, Bree.
Yes. Tomorrow, which is not today's Wednesday. We're doing this on Wednesday. I got to remember that.
You got dudes who bet later today. And then your Blinkers Off, dudes who bet daily tomorrow, since we were today. And then, Matt, are we going to do a Monday show? Or do you want to do a Sunday show for Monday or a Saturday show for Monday?
Maybe a Saturday show.
Maybe we'll flip it around a little bit. Monday, obviously, a holiday. You got Saratoga and Del Mar going on Monday. Yep. So maybe would they do Del Mar and Saratoga in a cross country pick 5 on Monday? Because that'd be fun.
No, the times, the post times are too off. It's like Saratoga's ending when Del Mar starts.
If only we could have people work together and make it.
I know.
All right, we got week 1 of college football. I got a couple bets. Let's go over the rails real quick. That means you're supposed to play.
I wasn't ready for it. Hold on.
No antics of any kind except speed, and there we go with the antics.
And there we go with the antics. One of my favorite Pete Aiello's ever.
It's an amazing call, especially because he just says it right before that there's no antics. And it's like, and
there we go with the antics.
So we got 2 bets that I want people to bet right now if you want to bet college football this weekend. The first one, Alabama, first half. Have we talked about this ever before on the show, Magic? Couple times. So they went on a streak where they were 21-5 at one point over a 2-year stretch in the first half. It was pretty good as an angle. Books responded with it, and they made the first half numbers close to 80 to 85% of the total spread. So you'd see a 28-point spread, 21.5 would be the first half number after that run had clicked off. Apparently, they've forgotten all about this because they're 42-point favorites, and it's only 27.5 right now in the first half. It will not be 27.5 come Saturday. So make sure if you want to bet this, you bet this right now. If you can get it sub 4 touchdowns, which is less than 66% of the spread, I would highly recommend locking in 27.5 on Alabama first half right now. It will be higher come Saturday. The other one's already started moving. We talked about this on Dudes Who Bet Daily today. Ohio State is playing Notre Dame on Sunday night. Ohio State is a 17-point favorite. Ohio State is basically in Alabama this year. If you talk to anyone who is an expert around college football, they are absolutely stacked at all the skill positions. They have C.J. Stroud coming back at quarterback. Their defense should be very good. By the way, Notre Dame 0-10 the last time they faced a top 10 opponent. Right now,
yeah, they are traditionally very terrible against top 10.
They're not good when they face athletes. They're just fine when they face teams that aren't that athletic. But when they face athletes, it becomes a problem. This team is very athletic from the Ohio State side. Right now, you can get 9.5 at some books. I think it's still up at DraftKings, 9.5 first half. I love the first half if you can get it sub 10. I like it a lot if you get 9.5. I still like it at 10. A lot of the offshores have already gone to 10. So check your books. See if you can get 9.5 first half on Ohio State. If you can't, I still like 10. I like 17 as well. If you can get 16.5, I love that even more with Ohio State. That line will move too. That will be closer to 20 by kickoff is my guess, because it's a late Saturday game. So it's going to be the get-even game, and everyone's going to hammer the favorite. So if you want Ohio State, you need to play them early so that you don't have to pay the extra half point or full point in either the half or the game.
I got to get it at -10. It's already moved for me. I can get -6.5 at -182, but I don't think I want to do that. So.
That's a little too juicy.
Yeah, a little bit. Hey, that's great, though. Thank you for covering on that one. I was just going to bring up Dudes Who Bet Daily. The CFL schedule is a little wacky this week because of the holiday. So I'll be on, but I got to figure out how I'm going to pick those games. It's a little different for me. But thank you for everybody for joining us. It's been fun. Kentucky Downs is a lot of fun, extremely low takeouts. Even a big reason we love them, it's not just the huge fields. The takeouts are low on everything. Pick 5, pick 4, pick 3, everything. They're encouraging you to just bet at Kentucky Downs, which is, all we want, Mike. We just want someone to say, please come gamble with us. We'll make it easier for you. So give them all the love if you can. Really want to get Kentucky Downs going.
You also get the reduced breakage because of the Kentucky state law and Kentucky Downs for the first time as well. So you should get a better percentage back in that perspective. So you have low takeout plus reduced breakage. Give Kentucky Downs some love. Curtis Manlow, good call. You can play -20 as an alternate line as well and get plus money if you want to do that with Ohio State. So that's not a bad way to attack that game either if you want.
That's a smart guy. Curtis Manlow should go create MySpace. That's what I think should happen. Bree says, let's cash some money. Let's get out of here, Mike. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I am at Curtis Keller. I'll throw it up here. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Dudes Who Bet Sports, the weekly show with Papa Dude and Aaron Halterman, will be live at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern today, Wednesday. August 31st, Blinkers Off on September 1st, Thursday tomorrow. So happy September to you. Make sure you check out Blinkers Off. Check out Dudes Who Bet Daily every Wednesday through Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We as a team have been absolutely crushing it. Do you know what our overall or what we're at right now, Mike?
We are up $2,800 in a little over 8 weeks of the show with just one best bet from each person that's on the show, up about $2,800. That's off $100 bets. So if you bet the horse to win for $100, then that goes to that. Either you lose 100 or you get back whatever the profit is. If it's a -120, that's -120 to win 100. If it's a +145, it's 100 to win 145. So $100 units, we're up $2,800 in 8 weeks.
It's a lot of fun. I had a couple of CFL long shots too, that like upsets, complete upsets we've been calling. So it's a lot of fun. Mike's had some great exacta plays for horse racing, and there's some sports stuff too. So please join us. We'd love to see you there, and over at racingdudes.com and youtube.com/racingdudes. We got previews for every major stakes race. There's a lot of them this weekend at Saratoga, Del Mar, and Kentucky Downs. So until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.